Now that we have graduated from CSU Global, I want to take this time to talk to you about a character trait that I have adopted as I finished up this degree: leadership. We hear those words all the time: leadership, leader, leaders and followers, but what do those words really mean? Is there something you're born with? What makes my boss such a good leader? Do I have what it takes to be a leader? Now that I have finished up my degree and plan to enter the workforce, I want to share my experience with leadership in hopes that it inspires you to investigate what being a leader truly means. Before finishing my degree, I worked at a warehouse in Commerce City driving a forklift from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. You heard that right, the dreaded night shift, something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. However, after a year of working there, I started to reflect on things. I'll be driving my forklift around at 4 a.m. reflecting on things that I had heard in class about leadership. I would then notice things about the management in the factory and take different things from both the class and the factory and contemplate what being a leader really means to me. One of the first things I recognized and reflected on was time management. Time management is an extremely important quality in being a leader, and to be honest, something that I had struggled with for a very long time. I would oftentimes attempt to switch tasks, which is attempting to do multiple things at once that result in different outcomes. I watched David Crenshaw's video course called Time Management Fundamentals and realized that I am what he calls a chaos master. He recommended 6 gathering points to be a focus master, and I had a grand total of 65. When I realized this, I took his advice and started consolidating. All my inboxes are now consolidated into one. I have only one calendar, and even my desk has been decluttered. After taking this advice and putting it into practice, something marvelous happened. I found that I was no longer missing appointments or important days. I could easily find things when I needed them, and it seemed like everything was in order. I'm happy to say that today I'm down to only 8 focus points, which has saved me tons of hours every week, accumulating to more time I get to spend at home with my wife. The second thing I reflected on was my own traits as a leader. I found out during class that my personality type is that of an ISFP, which basically means I avoid conflict to keep peace in relationships. I think the moment I started realizing this was perhaps the most important part of my leadership journey, as I found that I needed to step outside of my comfort zone in order to lead. I studied successful conflict management techniques from the book Crucial Conversations, where the author describes a crucial conversation as when the stakes are high, opinions vary, and emotions start to run strong, casual conversations transform into crucial ones. Understanding how to manage these types of conversations, I found that using effective methods in conflict allowed me to better myself when any type of conflict or problem arises. When leading, an important thing is the word influence. Influence can come in many different forms. Going back to my job at the warehouse, I had many bosses that I wanted to be like, and others that I absolutely detested. I reflected about why I would do almost anything for certain managers and would do the opposite of what other managers would tell me. The conclusion I came to was the type of influence. Some managers I have worked with were short-tempered, micromanaged, and gave little to no explanation of the goal we were working toward. However, in the journal Studies in Business and Economics, Influence and Leadership, Vakar Anka states that the vast majority of the employees interviewed see communication as the main factor that generates a positive relationship between the leader and his followers, with a whopping 79% of employees agreeing. At my place of work, I saw that the managers I did not like were the ones who rarely communicated and never built rapport with me. In my own journey as a leader, I know now that to gain support and trust from others, I must communicate and build rapport in order to better achieve a common goal. Someone I often think of is Professor X from the X-Men movies. His leadership style is that of coaching, something I aspire every day to be like. In the movies, you see him take the time to work on each individual member of the X-Men's strengths and weaknesses. He pushes them and celebrates their individuality. We see in these movies that through Professor X, the X-Men flourish, grow, and achieve many of the goals that have been set out for them. I like to think of myself as a Professor X without the powers, as I have created a coaching style of leadership in my own life. A coaching style of leadership is defined by Sheng Dong as when leaders guide and enlighten employees through soft measures, help employees discover their inner needs, establish work goals, stimulate personal potential, cultivate organizational concepts, and provide effective resource support. In the same paper, he notes that by implementing a coaching method in the workplace, the employee performance is dramatically increased. I have found that by guiding the people around me, tending to their individual needs, and congratulating efforts, I have been more successful than ever as a leader. One other important thing to note is the quality of being ethical while being a leader. It is so easy to convince other people to do something by lying, cheating, or omitting the whole truth. However, being unethical as a leader leads to low morale, broken trust, and even resentment from those you are trying to lead. In my experience, being transparent and open about the common goal we are trying to reach leads to much better results as a leader than being deceitful. As we continue on into the workforce, I inspire you all to look at yourself and identify which kind of leader you want to be. For me, recognizing my weaknesses with time management and knowing my personality traits allow me to know what I needed to work on to become the leader I wanted to be. Understanding the power of influence, different leadership styles, and ethical decision making helped me grow into the leader that I am today. By taking a step back and understanding these topics, I guarantee that you too will be able to be a successful leader, even if it is in a different way than me.